Well, our next guest is a homegrown artist whose work explores the cost of consumption on both our planet and our person. Here to tell us about it is Whitney Oldenburg, featured artist at MOCA Jacksonville's new exhibit, Whitney Oldenburg Left Behind. Good morning, Whitney.
Good morning.
We're also joined by Ylva Rouse, the museum's senior curator. Ylva, welcome back.
Thank you.
Very
Happy
nice
to
to
be
have
here.
you. Yeah, I'm glad
Yes.
to have you. And so this is a neat occasion to celebrate, to have a artist who is born in Jacksonville, who now lives in New York, but who is, headlining essentially this major exhibition at MoCA. So Whitney, this is, I think, the first institutional survey of your work. Can you tell us kind of what the significance is of that, what that means to you, and to also be having it here in Jacksonville?
Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity. Typically, it doesn't quite happen very often for someone at my age to have an institutional show this large. So there's 43 artworks from the last 10 years of my life. So it's kind of a huge show, which I make very large sculpture as well. So I actually haven't seen all my work together,
Yeah.
which is an incredible opportunity as an artist as well, because that's how you really learn from seeing your work together. And in your small, tiny studio, you don't always get to see things and step back from it and see how they work as a group.
How interesting. What an
Yeah.
interesting perspective. And so, as she mentioned, this is 23 sculptures and 19 drawings. Ilva, how do you kind of select from a body of work? Where do you get it from? Are you having to kind of borrow this from other places?
No, we actually were able to get it from Whitney's laughing from her small studio. She, of course, has a storage in New York. The space is not available. And her galleries.
Yeah. And how
Um,
do you choose which pieces kind of
well, for me, it was important to show Whitney's evolution. So the weight is on her recent work. In fact, she was working on them until the days before we
Yeah.
picked up, which was very nerve-wracking for me. But it's also exciting.
Yeah, because it's
Mm,
it's all kind of new.
yes.
Uh-huh. And so, Whitney, for people who are watching our live stream, they'll be able to see some of the imagery that is going to be on display and some of your work in general. But you work in these really beautiful textiles, but they're very complicated and layered. And I guess the materials that you're using really come from a broad, like, scope of things, a variety of places. Tell us a little bit about where you find the objects, what kind of materials you're incorporating.
Yeah. So I use everything from rock, resin, clay, but I also use Tylenol, ice trays, matches, nail files. So domestic goods, things that people consume, as well as kind of sculptural materials.
And when you're putting these items together, there's some messaging, I guess, involved in terms of, what you're choosing and how you're trying to represent our relationship with things.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about, what it is that you see when you look at the array of kind of consumables out there and how on our relationship with them?
Yeah, it's kind of I feel like in the last, I don't know, 30 years, our consumption has just exploded. And so you see documentaries of, where our waste is sent to, countries in Africa, and you see just constant consumption and waste, and then you hear in the news about how we're all, consuming microplastics. And while there is that element of climate change, there's also, I think of it as sort of like a coping. As somebody, when they're surviving, they want to gather and accumulate things, or if they're, feeling a sort of, trying to deal with a certain pain, they want to have their even something like coffee every day, like, "Oh, I need my coffee to get through the day." Um, but I think it's become kind of more interesting because um, I think the more that this is occurring, humans are also uh, being mutated in some senses. I think that people our age are getting cancer at higher rates. But also, it could lead to exciting things. I think this kind of constant adaptation, constant change, but this cycle of producing, consuming, waste, a sort of life and death cycle as well, I find to be really interesting. Um, yeah, so that's kind of things I think about.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, while it can be exciting, I understand that there's also this idea that, this cycle can be kind of flattening of the human experience. I know that
Yeah.
you've expressed concern that, the way that we consume things can have an effect on us, and not so much like on our planet or even our physical health, but just kind of on our humanity or our psychology.
Yeah. I think that people underestimate humans' ability to connect with inanimate objects. So, like, if you think about a child and a teddy bear, um, like I had a little stuffed animal and I was convinced it was real, So I think you can draw attachments to things as a form of comfort or coping, um, but in a way that kind of can take you further from connecting with others or connecting on a sort of deeper levels. And it's really, I think also about kind of the production of items as well, and kind of the movement of items throughout the world. So, say for instance, sneakers might be produced in China, however many, hands have, touched a particular sneaker, and then the shipping of the sneaker, and then the purchasing of the sneaker, and then, how cool someone feels that their sneakers are, whether or not it impacts their single life. And then beyond that, kind of tossing the sneakers and getting 10 more sneakers. It's sort of this constant cycle of just producing, consuming, and then
Discarding.
discarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ilva, who does Whitney's work remind you of? I mean, do you see some natural antecedents to the stuff that she produces?
Absolutely. So Whitney belongs to a compelling group of contemporary female sculptors that are working right now, and they're all kind of working with materiality and organic forms, and often intertwined with ecology, like Whitney, or personal or community experience, and it's quite interesting and exciting for us to be able to show this trend with a
Yeah.
Jacksonvillian.
How important is it for people who come to the exhibit to sort of understand all of the foundation, that's in Whitney's head, to appreciate her artwork?
That's a good question. I don't think so. There's a lot there, that's a lot of layers, but in itself, the sculpture is just a wondrous world of organic forms that you experience on a very sensorial level. It's going to be great fun for kids because they are creatures
Yeah. Yeah.
that you interact with, and I love that too. That too for the not only kids but also grown-ups to develop that sensuous side.
Yeah. Whitney, it's interesting because I think there's a lot of people that sort of repurpose things and make some kind of art that isn't always necessarily really pleasing to look at, but your artwork is very, I mean, aesthetically beautiful. It doesn't, you don't have like popsicle sticks sticking out of it or anything that's like identifiable in a way that detracts from just the look of the piece.
hmm
So how do you approach incorporating things that are perhaps not, that are disposed of, and making
hmm
them something beautiful?
Well, I think, I think if I've always liked art or that I am attracted to, I do think there's also an element of like attraction and repulsion that I like to
Hmm.
play with, um, and a sort of pleasure and pain. So I think it's important to. I like kind of drawing in the audience. I like that kids. I love it when kids like my work. And so I think it's important to me to have that element to my work. I think the transformative part element is also important. Um, like the idea of becoming, transforming, change, adaptation are all things I think about. So it's sort of, even if it's something like lollipop sticks or Tylenol, I like it when somebody doesn't, is kind of enamored with it and then is like, oh my gosh.
Like with it, almost like a double take.
Yeah, I
Yes.
enjoy that
Yeah.
part of it.
Do you have a favorite piece in this exhibit?
Um,
I haven't asked you that.
I have a few favorites. Um, and then I think I like Hopes and Dreams and
Is that a sculpture?
yep.
But
And
it's a wall sculpture.
A wall sculpture? Okay.
yep. And I think This Person I Know I really like. Um, and maybe Feeding Frenzy. I'm still the new sculptures. It takes me a while. I have to like look at them for a while, just see what I think about them.
Yeah. Well, I know it'll be a treat for people who know you here to be able to see your work all together. I'm sure you're excited as well.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Whitney Oldenburg, it's a pleasure to meet you. Ylva, this opening celebration and preview is on Thursday. So tomorrow from 6 to 9, and then a community hour from 8 to 9. But of course, it'll be on display till April 19th. So
Yes.
an opportunity. All right. Well, Ylva Rouse, Whitney Oldenburg, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.